I think the main role of government is to make the atmosphere conducive. So we're talking about regulation and we're talking about policy. Tax is good, but overtaxing is bad. Yeah. So you have to find an equilibrium between to balance it out.
Hello and welcome to yet another exciting edition of BizTech on GhanaWeb TV with me, MawulI, Ahorlumegah. My guest today is one that wears many hats. He used to wear the hat of an actor, but is now the Chief Executive Officer for eTranzact Ghana, which is a payment solutions company. His name is John Appiah. I'll introduce my guest right after this break. Hey, so John, it's good to see you. How are you doing?
Very well, MawulI. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, great. So how's the e-payments platforms doing in Ghana?
Well, I think, MawulI, that question is quite loaded. But if I'm to say it in general terms, I think they're doing well. The demand for the services that we offer are quite inelastic, at least a lot of the services. So that means that even at times when people have to tighten their belts or etc., the convenience and the security that our service offers means that they'll still prefer to use us. So I think in general, the whole industry is doing quite well. Yeah.
So now let's come to eTranzact, which you are the CEO of.
Yeah.
So what's a day like for you at eTranzact as the CEO?
Well, the days are not the same, but I'm trying very hard now to have a specific order from Monday to Friday. So usually my Mondays are full of meetings within eTranzact because, like I always tell everyone, the most important assets that a company has, besides its infrastructure and systems, is the people. So Mondays are usually a day devoted to ESCO meetings and meeting one-on-one to ensure that everyone is doing okay, to ensure that we are on track with our vision and our mission, and to ensure that our systems are working very well. So my Mondays are usually chock-a-block. Tuesdays I usually follow up on that as well. I have one-on-one. I do any signings that I have to do, etc. Then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I like to say I devote it to innovation. Innovation and seeing how to expand the business and thinking outside the box. A lot of the time with businesses and with CEOs, a lot of people get the work of the CEO wrong. But if you look nationally or globally, the work of a CEO, you are the chief salesperson for a large part. So part of it is saying, how am I bringing new business in? How am I making sure that what we have is working? And then how am I selling our brand and our vision to the outside world? So it's about finding the right balance to it. So my days are usually not cut in stone. There's a little bit of flexibility, but my usual day is just ensuring that our customer service is on point. We're giving good service to the customer, ensure that our systems are working robust. But I'm fortunate that I have very good senior managers and directors who I'm working with. So a lot of the time I don't have to prod and go into different spaces. If something is wrong, it will be escalated to me, and then I'll reach the relevant parties. So that's a normal day, and then I have coffee once in a while. And I want to have a golf set here so that I can play some golf. And so I'll invite you if you're a golfer.
No problem. I'll be happy to come around. Yeah. So now let's come to today's topic, which is the growth and the prospect of fintech companies, which you run one of them. So we've seen a lot of fintech companies come into the country over the last few years.
Yeah.
What exactly is the role eTranzact in this fintech ecosystem? Yeah.
Well, I think what is interesting about eTranzact is that before we're a fintech company, we're a technology company. I think that's what differentiates us from a lot of the fintechs, because a lot of the fintechs are just about payments. They're just about appending their payment solutions to various products that people bring to us. Our role at eTranzact is quite all-encompassing. We are more of a technology company where we want to create solutions to problems. So that means sometimes designing things that someone hasn't even come to us for. So I think we do the entire spectrum. And where we sit, we are pioneers within this company. The executive director of eTranzact is a gentleman called George Babafemi. And he, a lot of the time when I go to meetings, he's like the John the Baptist of fintech. At the time when a lot of people didn't know what fintech was, didn't know what payment systems was, he was preaching about how the system is going to change. Times are going to change. This is a system that is more convenient, is secure, it saves time, and so he's very well respected within the industry, and we're very fortunate to still have him here as one of our leaders. I like to call him a co-CEO with me because I do more the sales and business, but he's tasked with ensuring that our systems are working very well.
So how are the customers receiving this fintech revolution?
I think, MawulI, if you see from when COVID happened, everything kind of like changed, and since COVID, we realized that there's not been a decline. Even with the e-levy and all those things, there's still been a gradual upswing, because there's 45 million handsets in Ghana, which is about 140% of the population, and once you start seeing that, it means just like it happened in Kenya with the M-Pesa revolution, people start moving towards being able to do everything in one space. Exactly, and I always use this example that in the past, you want to send someone some money in Kumasi, you either go there yourself, or you send someone to take the money, or you give it to an STC driver or what's the name of that, VIP driver, so that the person will pick it up there. But now you can do it on your phone, so the convenience, the convenience of being able to do those things is what you're paying for, and it's what the companies are providing. So I remember when e-levy began and people were saying, I'll do it myself. It happened for the first month. But exactly. But someone has to come and give you money. You need to pay someone. You travel all the way in traffic to be able to, when you can just do it at your click of the finger by going in on an app or going to a short code and being able to do it, it solves the problem. So I see the future going towards that. With a younger population, we have a younger population within Africa, within Ghana. Most of this young population, like you guys, are all digital natives, so it's much easier to adapt to those type of change. So I see an upswing due to the convenience. As long as we're able to offer secure services that provide convenience, I think you're going to see an upswing of fintech.
So with every technology comes with its own challenges. But so you guys at eTranzact, how are you guys ensuring that your systems and the solutions that you're offering to people out there are safe and also secure for them? Because security always comes up whenever we talk about payment platforms and all of that.
I think we ensure that within our architecture, security, cybersecurity is a very important component, at least about 25%. Because you can have something that is convenient, something that looks aesthetically pleasing, but if it's not secure and someone has been defrauded once or someone has a bad experience, the person is not going to go there again. It's akin to the person's house being broken into. So in terms of all our architecture, it's a very important part of it. And here at eTranzact, we have a director specifically on risk and compliance and ensuring that our security for all our system is at the utmost level. So I think that is one of the most important things that we do here to ensure that the data that we have, the systems that we have are very secure. And we're registered or accredited by all the digital security organizations. We're ISO certified here. When it comes to cards as well, we're PCI certified. So we're working very hard, to be a company that is local but with a global footprint, that is thinking at an international level, so that when you're doing transactions with us, the data that we have of you is secure. We're using it in a very secure way, and we're providing the maximum security for you.
John, I've been having a very interesting conversation with you. I'll just take a quick break and then be right back.
Sure.
So I've been speaking with John Appiah. He's the Chief Executive Officer for eTranzact Ghana. We'll be talking about the growth and the prospects of digital payments platforms in the country. I'll be right back after this break.
Here's how to nominate your favorite for the awards.
Visit www.GhanaWebExcellenceAwards.com and click Nominations bar or click the Nominations banner on www.GhanaWeb.com. Provide your personal details by entering your first and last names. Fill in your contact details, that is, phone number and email address. Select the appropriate category out of 17 options for your nominee. Provide the personal details of your nominee. Provide at least one or more social handles of your nominee. Tell us why she qualifies for the selected category and then proceed. You receive a pop-up with "Would you like to make another nomination?" If yes, click yes and go through the same process of nominating another woman. If no, click no and you are done nominating your nominee.
Everyone needs the perfect snack to munch on during a fun moment.
Wow.
Enjoy the tasty McBerry Twist cupcakes, deliciously baked and packaged for a sweet treat. Premium quality cakes baked with love for all, enriched in butter and milk.
Yummy. Oh.
McBerry Twist cupcakes, simply irresistible. Try one today. This advert is FDA approved.
Welcome back from that break on BizTech. I still have here with me Mr. John Appiah, who is the Chief Executive Officer for eTranzact Ghana. We've been talking about the growth and prospects of digital payments in Ghana. John, I've been having a very interesting conversation with you. I've been learning a lot, but there's this thing that keeps coming up with artificial intelligence. Everyone's like, hey, what is this? What's happening to? Are we going to see a change in our global world and all of that? But we see a lot of AI being used in the digital payment system. So just briefly share with our viewers, for those who don't know what AI is and what role you guys are using AI to improve your systems.
So I think, thanks, MawulI, that's a very good question. I think the place to start with artificial intelligence is on a dissection of the phrase itself, which is artificial. Anything that is artificial is not organic, right? And because of that, there can always be ways in which it doesn't perform at an optimal level. So it's artificial intelligence because it's meant to mimic the way of doing things. And the plus in that is that you're able to do like large pieces of work or go through large data by having particular algorithms that the system is checking for. That doesn't require manual checking all the time, So manual checking as well has a lot of flaws because human beings are no machines. The person might be tired or the person might overlook things. But when you've inserted this into a program, it's artificial, but it has that intelligence because it has particular criteria or pinpoints that it's looking for. The plus is that you can do a lot quicker and you can have less bias in terms of what you're doing. And a lot of the time, people think that this means you're going to take a lot of people's jobs. I don't think so. I think what it means is that the workforce have to see how they can also retrain and how they can be better at what they do. But machines always need people. Machines always need people to also double check what has been done and to be able to implement it. So a lot of the time when I hear people saying that AI is going to take jobs, I think that is a bit of a storm in a teacup. Yes, AI is going to augment what is already being
More or
done.
less make it easier to us.
Make it easier. They're going to augment what is already being done, allow you to do more. So if normally it will have taken you Monday to Friday to go through large data sets to reach something, you might be able to do it on that Monday, which means that now between Tuesday and Friday, you have more time to invest in your job, to do additional things that you couldn't have done. You know, so I don't think it's a binary of 0 or 1. You know, I think it's something that augments what you're already doing.
Very well said.
Yeah.
So now let's come to investment, and we've seen the African Continental Free Trade area coming. Just briefly from your point of view, do you think Ghana is still the best place for investment, especially for digital payment?
I think so, MawulI. If you look at the influx of fintechs that have come into Ghana now, you know, when eTranzact started, it was just one of a few. In terms of those who had PSP licenses, it was just a few. In terms of those who had enhanced PSP licenses that eTranzact had, it was just maybe 1 or 2. But now there's so many. And, you know, when you see the proverbial flies over, you know what, it means there's something there. Yeah. So Ghana is a growing economy with a lot of potential, a youthful population. And that's why you see all the big fintechs, the global fintechs are all descending on here. Just like you see a lot of other industries, from banks to oil companies. Ghana is a stable democracy. Ghana is the center of the world, geographically speaking, and in many ways, Ghana is very easy to connect to the whole of Africa. You know, and until recently, in terms of our currency was extremely stable. It's still more stable than lots of other African countries. So in terms of seeing investment into Ghana, yes, we've had some issues recently, but in terms of investment in fintech, I see those investments happening because we have a young population, and wherever you have a young population, you recognize that technology, fintech, e-payments are on the rise.
Now let's come to the African Continental Free Trade area. A lot of countries are already on it, but we've seen the usage of cross-border payment. So what role is eTranzact going to play with this? I know we already have the PAPs already in the existing, but how can you leverage on this free trade pact to ensure that you have more people going for digital payment solutions?
So our group CEO was on the advisory board of of AFTA, and we were actually, eTranzact was one of the first processing, and was one of the organizations there was 2 that were the main processors for PAPS, the Pan-African Payment Settlement System, which is driving AFTA. I have a lot of hope for AFTA because it shouldn't be easier or cheaper to send or to pay for products abroad than to pay for products within our own African ecosystem. But I think a lot has to be done on seeing how the central banks within the various African countries are able to work seamlessly together. To date, I think that is the biggest problem. Our work as eTranzact, as other technology or fintechs, is to provide the rails on which this is built. It's like building a bridge or building a road. We are building the road for the cars to pass. The cars are all the SMEs and different businesses. And in the past, they've been passing through the mud, through parts that are not tarred. That is what has been happening, and that is what's still happening. Our work as fintechs is to build the roads, is to build the rails on which all those systems are built. And we're ready for it. We already have the rails built. We just need to be plugged in and connected. Yeah. So our central banks have to work with all those other central banks, because I should be able to pay for a product that I'm buying in Nigeria. I should be able to pay for it in cities, and for my central bank to do the conversion with the Central Bank of Nigeria, such that the person is receiving the money there in Naira. You know, at the moment as it is, if I'm paying for something that I'm buying in Nigeria, I have to convert it to the dollar, and then convert it back to the dollar to naira. And a year you lose $5 billion.
It defeats the whole seamless transaction.
It does. Do you see what I mean? Yeah. It's just like even if you're flying to some parts of Africa, I have to fly to Europe from Ghana before I connect and fly all the way back to maybe Senegal or something. And it doesn't make sense when I can just go across. So the same can be said of the Pan-African payment systems. Our work is to build the rails. We have the rails ready. We just need the toll booths to be open, for us to be able to transact business.
So John, you have been operating for some time now. I know you took office a while ago. And how are you ensuring that you stay competitive in this market? Because the payment platforms and the systems is growing. We see a lot of the development, but for eTranzact, how are you guys ensuring that you guys are competitive and you stay ahead of the curve?
I think the most important thing you can do to stay ahead of the curve is on innovation. And that's why here we have a department devoted to innovation here now, which is a new department. If you don't innovate, you die. They say the fishes that swim with the current are dead, right? Yeah, if you see a fish that's alive, it's always swimming against the current. So we are always thinking of new ways of doing stuff. We have the traditional payment systems, but we like to think as a technology company. Where are gaps in the market? Where are problems? Because we are only successful when we solve a problem. They said if you want to make $1 million, you solve 1 million problems. For someone, everyone will pay you $1 or 1 cedi. And if you are solving 1 million problems, you are getting 1 million cedis or $1 million, So the key for us is innovate. Find where there's blue oceans. Red oceans is where everyone is, which is the usual payment system. Everyone is chasing the same thing, But look for blue oceans where many people are not, where the barrier to entry is higher, because it requires expertise and a way of thinking around things. That is where we should be going, where we innovate. We do the same products that everyone else does, but then we think, how can we innovate? There's a problem in healthcare. How do we come up with a product within healthcare that actually helps Ghana Health Service, that helps the private patient? That is the key. Once you're thinking of that innovation as well, think of the systems you're offering. Because you can innovate as much as you want and create new ideas as much as you want. But if your systems are faulty, your systems are not robust, your systems are not dependable, your systems are not secure, you get the customers, but they'll leave. And after you've done that, are you giving good customer service? Are you giving good customer service? Because your clients are
the most important.
That is it. So are you giving? So I'll say staying relevant has to do with innovation, having secure, robust platforms that don't fail, and ensuring that at all times you're giving great customer service. And those three, I think.
Just finally, on having robust platforms, what role do you think government can play to improve the payment system?
I think the main role of government is to make the atmosphere conducive. So we're talking about regulation and we're talking about policy. Tax is good, but overtaxing is bad. So you have to find an equilibrium between to balance it out. At the same time, in terms of regulation, the government has to ensure that it's creating a fertile ground for us to, because a lot of the time regulation comes at the expense of innovation and vice versa. But those two don't have to be mutually exclusive. You can be innovative and still have sound regulation, like we see in lots of countries that are doing very well within technology and fintech space. So the government has to play the role of referee. And if the government is playing the role of referee, the government should not be wearing a player jersey as well. When you're a referee and you're refereeing to ensure that we are all working well together, that we're following the rules and regulations that protects the clients, protects the client's money and protects the clients, but ensures that we are competitive, not only competitive locally, but competitive internationally, because if we're able to do that, we end up bringing more money into the government coffers, So for me, the importance of the government is on that regulatory aspect, being able to be a good referee that is able to encourage partnerships between banks and fintechs, between fintechs and telcos and banks, you know, and create an enabling environment. You said it right.
John, I can't leave without asking you this question. Obviously, we've seen you on.
No, MawulI, you can leave. You can leave without.
So we've seen you on TV.
Yeah.
For a number of years. I grew up a lot watching you on Home Sweet Home. I'm sure some of our viewers will want to know if that show is ever going to come up. I know Nina is married now.
Yeah.
Mr. Datsun is late, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And are we ever going to see Home Sweet Home?
MawulI, I can see that you had an interest in Nina then.
No,
I saw when you mentioned Nina, you started blushing. You started blushing.
No, I've actually done my research.
Yeah.
Are we ever going to see Home Sweet Home ever come back?
Yeah, so not in what we saw, because most of us are out of the space. I kind of like stumbled into it and loved it, and I think I loved the creative aspect of it, which is what I'm using here as well, because, you know, the same way that entertainment is a solution. You know, people used to rush home on Fridays to go and watch Home Sweet Home because it gave them some escape. You know, we're providing a solution to people, you know, and I think that's what I'm continuing here. And, you know, we're working with a lot of entertainment companies here. So I think that is what I'm giving back. But in terms of acting and coming back on screen, we'll be on screen in other different ways in terms of with business. I love what you guys are doing with BizTech, but those type of things we're interested in terms of being able to read the masses, being able to reach young entrepreneurs, you know, and that's why I see myself going for now. Yeah.
Very, very diplomatic response, but I'll take it. So I've been speaking with Mr. John Appiah. He's the Chief Executive Officer for eTranzact Ghana. And we've been talking about the growth and prospects of the e-payments system in Ghana. He's been my guest on this week's edition of BizTech. Before we go, don't forget to log on to our website, www.GhanaWeb.com. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter @the GhanaWeb, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel, GhanaWeb TV. I am MawulI Ahorlumegah. Please do stay for Biz Headlines.